It is December 1, 2018. The security camera records Grace, 22 years old, and her Tinder date, Jesse, getting ready to leave a bar. They had met just a few hours earlier, but they are already heading to his apartment. From the outside, everything seemed to be going well, so well that shortly after they were heading to a nearby hotel. Soon after, no one would imagine it would be the last time Grace would be seen alive. The next day, coincidentally her birthday, no one could reach her. The same thing happened days later. It seemed like she had vanished off the face of the earth. Her friends and family quickly reported her missing, but without success. Meanwhile, Jesse was caught on security cameras going back and forth, up and down in the elevator. He was carrying cleaning supplies and what appeared to be a suitcase containing contents that would shock everyone. And worse, the killer had another date scheduled, and if the police didn't catch him soon, this girl and many others could become victims. Let's go through the events of the case from the beginning. 5:37 p.m. on December 1, 2018, Grace, who had just finished a backpacking trip through England and New Zealand, leaves the hostel to meet Jesse. Meanwhile, Jesse was having some beers at a local bar before the date, drinking several bottles. When he left the bar, at least 4 empty bottles were still on the table. They met at a popular, crowded location, which made Grace feel comfortable meeting her date for the first time. But this would be a false sense of security, as Jesse had no plans to do anything suspicious in public. He would wait until they were alone. Unaware of anything wrong, Grace followed him to a bar where they drank together for over an hour. Then they went to a Mexican bar at 7:15 p.m., and later visited the Bluestone Room around 8:30 p.m. It was there that Jesse tried to get closer to Grace and see if he could move things further. At 8:54 p.m. they shared their first kiss. At that moment, Jesse went to the bathroom, and Grace sent her last message saying everything was going well and that she really got along with him. She was probably excited to spend the night with a guy she genuinely liked. She likely had no idea that soon he would end her life in a horrific way. The next morning, Grace's phone began receiving multiple messages. It was her birthday, and many friends wanted to wish her well. Each of these messages went unanswered. The first sign that something was wrong appeared at 8 a.m. when Jesse entered the elevator alone, looking suspiciously at the camera. If you think he was just going out to get coffee for the birthday girl, think again. During the night, Jesse had killed Grace by strangulation, and now he was trying to cover up his crime quickly. He already had another potential victim lined up. At 8:07 a.m., Jesse headed to the city center for the strangest shopping spree. He started at the warehouse, where he bought a suitcase to hide Grace's body. He checked the width and depth of the suitcase to ensure she would fit inside so he could dispose of the body before anyone discovered it. Then, 25 minutes later, he went to another store to buy cleaning supplies to clean the crime scene. He returned to his apartment for a few hours, reappearing at 10:42 a.m., when he took a taxi to rent a car at Apex Car Rental. But what he did next was even more shocking, and Jesse went out on a date with another girl he met on Tinder. While Grace's body was still in the apartment, Jesse went out on a date with another girl he met on Tinder. Given that he already had all the materials needed to hide a body, it is speculated that he planned this second date to be his second victim of the day. Upon arriving at the bar, Jesse was wearing exactly the same clothes he wore the night before, possibly the same clothes he wore when he killed Grace. We do not know if Kempson was as insistent with this girl in his messages, but what we do know is that his conversation with her during the date raised huge red flags, and deeply scared her. Allegedly, he wanted to talk about how to hide a corpse from the police. The date immediately ended, and this girl's instincts likely saved her life. 30 minutes later, Jesse was seen with a cart carrying several suitcases, one of which was the suitcase he bought earlier. It was too heavy to carry because Grace's body was inside. Of course, he couldn't walk down the street carrying such weight, so he used the rented car. Shortly after, he was loading the suitcases into the rental car, ready to hide the body somewhere he thought no one would find it. The next morning at 7 a.m., Jesse bought a shovel and returned to the apartment, where he collected clothes to take to the laundry, destroying more evidence of the crime. But he wasn't done yet, stopping at a random dumpster to discard a trash bag. Then, Jesse took the rental car for a complete car wash, paying special attention to the back part where he had hidden the suitcase with Grace's body. And so, his work was done. Over the next 2 days, Grace's family and friends went through anguish. No one knew where she was. She hadn't posted anything on social media and hadn't answered either of her 2 phones. Her family reported her missing to Auckland police on December 5th. Grace's father, David, even flew to Auckland and made an emotional appeal for his daughter's safety. Grace has been missing for several days, and as a family, we are extremely concerned for her welfare. Whoever has seen, spoken to, or had contact with Grace, please get in touch with the investigation team. With all the media coverage at the time, Jesse probably saw her father's appeal, but the family's pleas went unanswered. They discovered she had been on a date with a mysterious man and, after reviewing hours of surveillance footage, found the last person she was with and tracked him to his apartment. At 3 p.m. on December 5th, the police arrived at the City Life Hotel, but almost missed Jesse as he saw them in the lobby when approaching the door. Jesse thought that if he left casually he wouldn't be noticed, but these sharp-eyed officers missed no details and quickly detained him before he could flee. At this point, the smartest thing for Jesse to do would have been to admit his crime, attempt to plead that it was an accident, and face the consequences. But he would do none of that. In the interrogation room, he planned to lie, unaware that the police had already seen all his movements from the night of the crime and had almost all the evidence they needed. At the start of the interview, he had no reason to lie, as he was only recalling events before the murder. Tell us about Grace. So I was chatting with Grace on Tinder. Yes, we matched on Friday. I saw that we matched on Saturday, and then we met at Sky City and decided to go to Andy's Burger Bar. Not long after, Jesse got tangled in his first lie, claiming that Grace insisted on the date when we know he had been trying to meet her from the first messages. Was it her idea to go to that burger place? It was mine because I didn't know initially that she was real. What do you mean by that? Well, have you heard of catfishing? No. Catfishing is when someone uses your profile or your pictures and pretends to be you. It's a completely different person. It's on Tinder. It's all about appearances. Ah, yes. And meeting in a public place protects you from people who aren't so good. Well, there's security there, so if she wasn't who she said she was, at least I would feel safe. When Jesse was confronted with the surveillance footage evidence, he continued to lie, digging himself into a hole. No. I go down Victoria Street, straight to the end, and turn left, heading toward VU. You kind of walked in a funny direction if you were planning to go to the Vict. Well, that's the direction I normally take. Is there any reason for that? I feel safer that way. The officer was clearly suspicious because Jesse's behavior didn't make sense. If he was lying, a few questions would be enough to destabilize him completely. The officer started applying pressure, leaving Jesse panicked. Actually, I don't know if she's been murdered or not. She could be alive and well. Okay. But she could also be dead. Okay. And maybe you did it. Hey, I just want to ask a question. Am I being arrested for something I didn't do? He had not yet been arrested, but Auckland police were already convinced Jesse was responsible for Grace's disappearance, or at least involved. And the more the police investigated, the more evidence appeared against him. It wasn't just the security footage helping solve the case. Remember the new suitcase and cleaning supplies Jesse bought the next morning? Well, believe it or not, everything was paid for with Grace's credit card. He also paid for an extra night at the City Life Hotel. In fact, it's very likely he even paid for the second date with Grace using her credit card. The extra hotel night was meant to give Jesse enough time to clean up the evidence. But it would take more than a carpet cleaner to erase the truth. He firmly holds 2 cleaning products, as if he could erase the traces of the horror he committed. 30 minutes later, we witnessed the result of his dark silence. The next stage of the cruel plan is about to begin. He enters the elevator with a cart loaded with suitcases. Among them, one purchased that very morning. The suitcase is visibly too heavy to carry easily. Inside it lies Grace's lifeless body. He knew he couldn't walk the streets with all that weight. So he hastily rents a car. The next phase begins. Each suitcase is placed in the vehicle like a puzzle piece. A planned crime now in full execution. He tries to make the body disappear, taking everything to a place where he hopes no one will ever find it. The next morning at 7 a.m., Jesse buys a shovel. Another dark piece in the puzzle of the disappearance. Back at the apartment, he picks up some dirty clothes. Not to wash, to eliminate traces, destroy evidence. But that's still not enough. He stops in front of a random dumpster. Throws in a huge black bag, its contents no one wants to imagine. Soon after, he takes the car for a detailed cleaning. He focuses especially on the trunk. With that, he believes everything is resolved. But Grace's silence begins to be noticed. 2 days of absence and despair take over the family. There were no messages or social media posts. On December 5th, the disappearance is reported. The family contacts the Auckland police. Grace's father, with a heavy heart, flies to New Zealand. He makes an emotional appeal. We just want our daughter back. Please, if anyone knows anything, get in touch. But Jesse doesn't respond. The police intensify the investigations. They analyze hours of footage, trace routes, observe details. They discover Grace's last meeting with a man. And that man is Jesse, who now tries to hide. They find him at the City Life Hotel. Jesse notices the police, tries to sneak away. But the trained eyes of the police don't fail. He is detained before taking another step. The interrogation begins. Jesse, confident, believes he can deceive the investigators. He talks about Grace, Tinder, the casual meeting. But soon distorts the facts, lies, omits, manipulates. He tries to reverse the facts, claims that Grace insisted when records show otherwise. Talks about catfishing, about dangerous encounters. Tries to create doubt, confuse, appear as a victim. But the cameras show a different path. His steps don't match his words. The officer confronts him with contradictions. Jesse begins to tremble. Panic sets in. She might be alive, or not, he stammers. But he knows, deep down he always knew, that Grace is dead. With each lie he digs a deeper hole. The police already know much more than he imagines. Images, purchases on Grace's card, witnesses. The web closes in. Jesse is surrounded by evidence. In the second interrogation there's no way out. He confesses, but tries to justify himself. He talks about 50 Shades of Grey, trying to romanticize the horror. Tries to paint the murder as an accident within a game. But his words are cold, empty, out of touch with reality. He doesn't talk about love. He talks about death. Talks about pain. She asked for it, he says, shifting the blame. But no one asks to die. He says he fell asleep in the shower, confused, lost. But there are records, evidence, photos. While Grace was already dead, Jesse was cleaning the room and planning how to erase any trace of her existence. He went out, bought a suitcase, returned as if nothing had happened. Each act more cruel than the previous one. Sent messages to a friend as if life went on. Carried the body to the elevator. Drove the rented car to the parking lot, parked, slept, as if nothing had happened. Woke up before sunrise, took a shovel and went to a forest. Grace's final destination. The Waitākere Mountains were the chosen grave. Alone he dug a hole and buried Grace. The police ask, "Where are her belongings?" He responds, "I threw them away. Everything that was in the room. Each item, a memory of Grace now destroyed." "Where did you clean the car?" The police ask. "In Henderson, with a pressure washer at a garden store." The answers no longer convince. The coldness in his words reveals the truth he tries to hide. "Did she have any injuries?" "I don't remember." "Did you kill Grace Millane?" "No. But the investigation shows otherwise. And prison is inevitable." Jesse is charged with murder. New Zealand does not differentiate degrees of homicide. If you killed, it's life imprisonment. And that's exactly what happened. While Jesse denies it, the truth keeps coming out. Google searches, places to hide a body. Purchases on Grace's card. Even the hotel stay was paid by her after death. The defense tries to downplay it. It was a game gone wrong. But no one believes it in the face of the facts. The forensics show Grace was strangled. Bruises on her arms, on her chest. She fought. She tried to live. Fought for her life. But Jesse didn't stop. He chose to kill. On December 9th, Grace's body is found. The mountains witnessed the end of a young woman full of dreams. Jesse is convicted in February 2020. Life imprisonment. Minimum of 17 years without parole. After his trial, 2 more women came forward and claimed Jesse had assaulted them after they met him on Tinder. He was found guilty on those charges as well, adding another 11 years to life added to his sentence.